All right, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining this session. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Akin Oladeji, and I happen to be the founder of Learn with Pride. And at Learn with Pride, we help people that wants to transition from non-IT or non-technical into the IT space. So we run different courses ranging from project management, business analysis, Scrum Master, Product Owner, Software Automation testing, Data Analysis, and DevOps Engineer. And the reason why we are here, why we are all here tonight, is because of DevOps Engineer. So what we do is, you know, we don't dwell much on theoretical aspects. We focus on, getting your hands dirty. We focus on practicals. We focus on exposing to as many industry standard tools as possible. And we really don't preach much about, certification, because certification without knowledge, um, you know, cannot get you the job, but the knowledge and experience you have, can get you the job, even without you getting the certification. And that is why we concentrate more on the practicality side of things and getting your hands dirty. Um, so we take people on a journey, we walk the walk with people to ensure that at the end of their program, whether it's a 3-month program, whether it's a 4-month program, they are able to, they can be in a position whereby they are able to compete with people who has been doing it for 2-3 years. That is how we equip our students. That is how we support our students as well. So it is not only about, getting the practical training from us. We don't leave you hanging. You joining us, you tend to become part of the a bigger family. And when it comes to, aside the training, we provide the mentorship, we provide the support, which is very important in any transitioning. If you don't have the support, if you don't have that backbone, you might feel that you are alone. And, if you face 1 or 2 challenges, you might think that, oh, I can't do this. Let me go back to what I was doing before. So we provide you with the support. You are not alone on the journey. We are all on this journey together. When it comes to interview preparation, we provide that as well. Then we give you a reference for the duration that you are with us as well. This particular course is a 4-month duration. So we provide you with a work reference after the training as well, to say that, yes, you've been with us for 4 months and you've been working with us for 4 months. That is how, even after the session, after your 4 months with us, as I said, you belong to a family, to a bigger family. So you are not alone. So when it comes to sharing ideas, thoughts, you have people left and right that you can, share that with as well. And when it comes to transitioning as well, many people will be asking that question: can I do it? I'm not into tech. I want to transition. I've been hearing about DevOps. Can someone with no technical knowledge, can he join it? Or at my age or whatever, can I still be involved in changing my career path? All the answers to these questions is yes. Because myself, Learn with Pride was actually born based on my own personal journey, based on my own personal experience as well. My background was accounting. And, I was desperate for this change at some point. I wanted a career change. I've got masters in accounting as well, but, accounting is just not my thing. It's so boring to me. So I wanted a change badly. And I enrolled on a similar course, like a 3-month course back then as well. It's a software automation engineer course. I did that for 3 months, despite the fact that I have no technical knowledge. All I knew then was, debit, credit, balance sheets, and all of that. But because you know, I was dedicated, I was committed into the process, I wanted the change badly, I was able to transition. And the course was 3 months, I think. Yeah, 3 months with no support. So I had to sacrifice a lot. I had to sacrifice part of my sleep, you know. In the middle of the night when I'm supposed to be sleeping, that is when I'll pick up things, trying to solve issues and all of that. Because I know I want to compete with people who have been doing it in the industry for 2, 3, 4 years. I don't want to finish the course and start looking for a job as an intern. I don't want that. So I buried myself into the process. And after the program, I started applying for jobs. And a few weeks after, I got my very first role as a senior software automation engineer. And it's all a story today. Not only am I working as one today, but I train other people as well, to become like me. I've trained many people to become like me. This is someone that, I spent, is it 6 years or how many years studying accounting? I only did 3 months of a course, and I'm in a position whereby I train other people on how to become a software automation engineer. This can only happen with a great mind, with a great dedication, with a great support. That's why the fact that when I did mine, there wasn't any support. But you have the support system now. You have the backbone. You have people you can go to. If you are stuck, if you need help, if you need assistance, you have all of that. So that is just a bit as in short story about myself, how I transitioned. I've got a few slides to go through, and after that, I'll be calling up the facilitator that will take you on the journey if you are to come on board for the course, just to share more light how the benefits, the advantages, that as a DevOps engineer that you can enjoy. Is it possible for a novice, for someone with no technical knowledge to embark on the journey? Is going to answer that questions in detail as well. But to start with, let me just go through my slide quickly. All right, why DevOps? I'm going to be using UK as a benchmark. The average salary for a DevOps engineer in the UK, it's around 65,000. This is a lot of money as well, and this is something that after going through the process, you can be confident enough to start applying for as well. Also, since after COVID as well, it has become, companies all around the world, now employs people to work for them remotely. So whether you are in Nigeria, you can get a job probably with an Australian firm to work remotely. Whether you're in Ghana, you can get a foreign job. Whether in the UK, you can be working for a company in Canada. So the ability, the flexibility to work remotely is there now, and that's one of the reasons why most people are now rushing to IT. Even the worst case scenario, probably, for those in the UK, for some companies now, probably they are now doing hybrid. So worst case scenario, probably they'll go to the office probably once a week or once a month. It all depends. But working remotely still have a higher percentage, all around the world. So if you're looking to transition, using UK as a benchmark is around 65,000 starting salary. Also, it's one of the shortage skilled worker in the UK as well. You might be in Nigeria, you might be in Nigeria, you might be in Ghana, you apply for jobs, probably to a UK firm, they like you, they can sponsor your visa. That is just what it means. Or even if you don't get that sponsorship visa, you can still live abroad and be working for an international company as well. This is possible as well. Again, as I said, you can work remotely from anywhere in the world. Since COVID, this has become like the order of the day. It's in a very high, it's in high demand. The need for a DevOps engineer and organization is, it's rampant now. It's really, really in high demand. So if you are to come on the journey, what would be the roadmap? Um, so you are going to be involved in a training project. Let's just go through that. So the training is a 4 months training. It's going to be twice a week, 4 to 5 months, so to say. It's going to be twice a week for 4 to 5 months. You're going to be exposed to, I think, over 10 industry standard tools, you know, when it comes to DevOps, AWS, Linux, just to say a few. When I call upon the facilitator, is going to tell you more about all the tools that you'll be exposed to as well. And the facilitator, is one of the top. He's been doing it for many years, and he's got a bunch of experience when it comes to DevOps. So, after the training, you'll be involved. It's, as I said, it's like a practice. It's like you're working. You'll be exposed to, all these tools on the live session. You do it as well. AWS, you have your own account. Everything that is doing, you'll be able to do yours as well as it goes. After that, then what comes next is you optimizing your brand, because you've gone through the training, you've gone through the practicality of things, you know what you're doing now. But before you start applying for jobs, you need to revamp your CV. You need to optimize your LinkedIn, because if you are not visible in the market, nobody will see you and no employer or recruiter will call you. That is why this stage is very, 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 very important. It is I cannot overemphasize how important this stage is, you know. So that is why, to increase your chances in the market, it will be good for you to revamp your CV to the international standard and to optimize your LinkedIn as well. When it comes to revamping of CV, we don't do that though, but we partner with one of the best in the industry as well. That will help you to do this at a discounted rate if you are from us, and you can be guaranteed about what they are going to do for you. But this stage is very, very important in your journey. All right. So after optimization of your brand, then you can start applying for jobs, getting shortlisted, and when it comes to interview preparation as well, we do that with you. We don't leave you alone. We go through just to enable you to ace the interview. So we do the interview prep with you. All right. So I just have a few slides to share just to show you the range or how much people working as a DevOps are getting out there. This first one is a contract role, a 12-month contract paying between 650 and 700 pounds per day. If you are getting 650 or 700 pounds per day, let's just say 600 pounds per day, that is like 12,000 pounds per month. And this is a 12-month contract. That would be 12,000 times 12. That is in six figures. These are the type of roles that you'll be able to apply for, after the whole experience, after the whole process. This is another one. This is a permanent one, paying up to 80,000 pounds per annum. That is a lot of money as well for a permanent role. You'll be wondering, can you actually do this? Yes, you can, but despite the fact that we are going to walk the walk for you, with you, despite the fact that we are going to support you all the way. Remember, I made mention that the classes will be twice a week for 4 to 5 months, but your own journey will not be twice a week. Your own journey will be an everyday journey for that duration, for that 4 to 5 months. It's going to be an everyday journey for you, because at the end of that period, at the end of the 4 or 5 months, you want to be in a position whereby you can compete. For that to happen, you must have, you know, dedicated enough time into the process, because your input will be equals to your output at the end of the day. That is why it is important not to restrict or limit your learning to only twice a week. it's going to be, as I said, you need to sacrifice a lot for that duration. But after you've achieved what you need to achieve, then that is the end of the sacrifice, right? Everything goes back to normal. But for the duration that you're looking for that transitioning, your time, your effort needs to be dedicated into the process. I understand everybody works, or some of us has got family as well, kids. Might not be easy, but out of no time, you need to create a time. Whether it's your sleep, probably you do sleep for 8 hours before, that has to be probably cut down to 5 hours. So that in the middle of the night, you can wake up, study for 2 to 3 hours, then probably go back to sleep. Something, you need to pave way. You need to make way. You need to sacrifice something to make this thing work. Remember, maybe majority of people coming on board has no knowledge about when it comes to DevOps engineer. But at the end of the process, you don't only want to have the knowledge, you want to be able to compete. That means your time, your effort, your sweat, everything within you needs to go, into that process to make it work. We might provide you with all the tools, we might provide you with all the support, but if you are not giving your own 50%, then it might not work. But if we give our own 50% and you add your own 50%, then I can guarantee you that at the end of the day, you'll be smiling, because you'll see how much you've grown, and you can see how confident you are, and you can see when you start applying for jobs, going for interviews, and you can see that most of these things has been covered, or you've done them, then you can talk about them as well. All right. So if you are to, before I pass the mic over to Michael, if you are to come on board, so this should be starting, I think, on the 17th of this month. If you want to enroll, for anyone that wants to enroll on or before the 10th of April, you'll be eligible for a 40% discount. The actual amount, the actual price for this duration is $7.99. You can do your comparison. You can do your compare the market. You can compare with anybody in the market. I can guarantee you that you cannot get it any cheaper, any lesser from anywhere. With the quality of what we are providing, you cannot get a bargain out there like ours. I can beat my chest for that. So if you are subscribing or enrolling before the 10th, you'll be eligible for a 40% discount. And only half of this is required to start, and the other half can be paid within 6 to 8 weeks of you starting the course. So, that is the bargain of the year, I can tell you, or bargain, or what, Easter bonanza, so to say. As I said, you can do your comparison in the market and see whether you can get anything cheaper when it comes to DevOps engineer at that price. So if you want to come on board, you can take a screenshot of this number. You can message me. I'll respond to you. Or if you have any questions after this session that you want an answer to, you can message that number on the screen as well. And I'll be more than happy to respond to you and give you an answer. That being said, for now, I'll be calling on Michael, who's going to take you on the journey and shed more light into the process as well. So Michael, without any further ado, over to you. Thanks.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah,
Hello
good.
there. Please let me know if my audio is not clear enough.
If you can be more loud, that would be good.
A bit more audible. Let me change my microphone. About now,
Yes,
screen enabled.
Yes, it's enabled and it's better now. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm going to share one or two windows on my system. I think that should cover our conversation. Please don't mind me. I'm not much of a PowerPoint person, and the style I'm adopting for this presentation pretty much will be the same style we're going to be engaging for all our conversation. So I think the only thing Akin did not do was practically tell us what DevOps is and exactly what DevOps is and how it works. But pretty much he said everything. In terms of the prospects, the challenges, and the opportunities. He said much of everything. So the whole idea is coming into this space, I'm sure we all have a lot of questions. Some of us have pretty much done our pre-research on what DevOps is. Why do we want to go into DevOps? Why we have our own preconceived notions as to why we want to go into DevOps. And I'm sure a lot of our assumptions are not far-fetched. It might be because of the high value pay that it comes with, the average. Even in dollars, we're looking at probably an average of 80 to 120 per annum. That's on the one hand. And prospects also, with the evolving nature of tech today, DevOps is one of those skills where, is not going out of place. Even in industry conversations, with the current set of students we're dealing with, we're training presently, it is arguable and it is assertive that what might eventually happen is that, okay, you might not call them DevOps engineers anymore, but the conversation might center around what you call platform engineers. Platform engineers, because you're going to be working with platforms and you're going to be working with tools across board. So as a quick introduction to DevOps, I want to start with how DevOps came to be, how DevOps came to be, how DevOps became, much of my background is traditional waterfall project management. I'm actually a certified PMP also, which is one of the many feathers I have on my cap. I'm a certified PMP for about 10 years now. But I have a more extensive background in ICT, in tech. I've been a techie for over 20 years. As far back as 2001, I've been a techie. I started as a system admin, network engineer, then started to manage infrastructure, a Linux engineer at some point. So the journey has been quite extensive for me, but much of the challenges that have been noticeable is the cumbersome way it takes for software to be produced, to go into production in the market. As a project manager, as a conventional project manager, before you can deploy a project, it goes through a lot, collecting requirements, gathering needs analysis. You're doing a whole lot, such that, okay, before you can even start working on the project, we're talking of weeks, months, because a whole lot of time is taken gathering requirements. You understand? It doesn't work too well that way for modern day market demands, where a client or a product owner wants a product in the market like ASAP. It is not standard for environments, particularly such as that we have in software development. It is not standard. Something more, let's use the word agile. That was one of the that's one of the cases for agile as a methodology. It was one of the cases for agile. It helps production at a very fast rate. It eliminates most of the cumbersome approaches and techniques you have in traditional project management. That's where Scrum comes in. Scrum is an integral part of DevOps. We can't take it away. In as much as DevOps is an evolution of Scrum or the agile methodology, it also simply means you can't separate it. That is why as a DevOps along the line, you're going to find yourself working with Scrum teams. You're going to find yourself working with Scrum teams, working in sprints, working with other developers. You understand? That will further bring us to the meaning of DevOps eventually, which is basically collaborative in nature, which is basically being able to enable collaboration, because you are going to be the DevOps. And when organizations are bringing you on board, one of the key things they are bringing you on board for is to enable collaboration and automation. So trying to compare DevOps with Agile, the point is, while both aim to streamline the software development process, they have some significant differences. Yes. Agile is project management, basically. Agile is project management methodology that emphasizes iterative, back and forth, development and flexibility. It focuses on delivering functional software in short iteration, short periods. We talked about that, short periods of time. The conventional waterfall, you can call it conventional, traditional waterfall approach to project management is too cumbersome. It takes a lot of time. We're talking of weeks and months. And iterative means there are a lot of back and forths where something is undone, it is revisited, or it is logged into the next session. That is what iteration is like. It basically a lot of back and forth, but you are seeing consistent progress. You are seeing consistent increments. We're going to be talking about Scrum methodologies. There are concepts you call product in increments. I also want to assume that a lot of us are already in some capacity in the tech industry, and some of these terminologies shouldn't come across as, something out of context. They are terminologies we are already used to. But for those of us that are still not used to them, please, going forward, one thing we're going to achieve is to ensure that the sessions are very interactive. Don't let anything freak you out. The current guys that are running it, we're seeing amazing results. We're seeing amazing results. At some point, there was the issue of having the classes becoming more interactive, but we were able to achieve that because of the level of comprehension we have amongst the different participants. But now you could see a whole lot of progress. A lot of the current guys are already beginning to have conversations with recruiters. At this point, a lot of them are build and release engineers. They are Linux engineers. So they are open to the market already. We still have a couple of modules to cover, but point is they are already exposed to the market. So when we talk about iteration in agile methodology, it is basically being able to constantly deliver increments in successions, even if it means going back to rework and making sure that as at where we are today is comparatively an increment to where we are tomorrow, not necessarily having ways to think the entire process through. We don't have to think the entire process through. That is why in Scrum, as an agile approach to project management, they are what you call sprints. They are what you call sprints. A lot of us that are familiar with it, you will have daily stand-up sessions. After daily stand-up sessions for probably a week or 2 weeks, you will now have sprint. You now have, which is part of a weekly sprint, for instance. After the sprint, there are weekly deliverables, which you call product increments. So it is quite different from the traditional approach. The whole idea is just to make the entire software development lifecycle faster. more iterative. There is iteration in traditional project management, but in this case, it is faster. It helps delivery of projects to be done in a much faster pace. That is agile for you. That is agile for you. But in the case of DevOps, DevOps on the other hand, though it embraces everything agile, that is where you say there are a lot of similarities. It embraces a lot of agile, but it focuses more on collaboration. As a DevOps, you are going to be managing teams. You're going to be managing developers. That is basically it. Agile still promotes teamwork. Agile promotes collaboration and continuous improvement. But that is the core of DevOps in itself. That is the core of DevOps. It is a major methodology that focuses on collaboration between software development and IT operation. Because normally there was this case where, okay, before the early 2006, 2005, thereabout, before the initial Scrum framework was developed, it became official as of 2010. But when it was being developed as a 2005, 4, 5, 6, the issue was when developers develop a product and it is launched into the market, there are constant issues that occur, especially in terms of operation. Much of the time, operation guys want to communicate what is happening to developers, but because they don't speak this language, and the time it takes for developers to even receive such requests, it brings a lot of, complications. It's too cumbersome. You would want to say that. It's too cumbersome in terms of timing and speed, such that if operation guys, the guys that are managing these applications in the market, they are encountering difficulties based on feedback they are getting from users. They are encountering user feedback real time, and they want these changes to be effected almost immediately. But because much of the time they don't have direct access to developers, developers have to probably liaise with the product owner, with the IT team, and before they now get a full documentation of what needs to be done, whether it is a bug or it is a new feature that needs to be added. So it starts to become too cumbersome and more difficult to manage. So collaboration between operation and developers became a really big issue as at that point in time, because softwares were now being developed and deployed faster. But as much as these softwares are being deployed faster, the challenge also, because the point is, when you're solving one problem, truth is you're actually creating or opening up the fact that there's also additional or attendant problems to that solution itself. So the faster it is to deploy, the faster it also becomes to know that, oh, it has issues. Oh, the market is quickly seeing the product, they are appreciating it, but they want these changes, or they're having these challenges, or they're having, they require this, or what if there was this added to it? What if there was that, or there's a bug or something? So communication, collaboration, a lot of challenges in terms of language, a lot of challenges in terms of technical communications and all that. So there became a need to have an in-between guy, or an in-between structure, such that it is seamless. And apart from having an in-between person, the entire communication and the entire process also has to be seamless. That's why we say, apart from collaboration, automation is another key aspect of DevOps, where a lot of these processes, from deployment to operation and back to code again, back to code. Let me show you a diagram. I think I shared this. Please let me know if you're not seeing the screen. I shared this. Yes, I did. It becomes an iterative loop. You might want to put it that way. It becomes an iterative loop. But the point is, within this entire loop, everything has to be automated. Because from the moment a product is released and deployed into the market, operation becomes necessary. Those are the guys managing the front end, managing customer interactions, collecting feedback and all that. When there are issues, whether directly from users or from monitoring, it immediately goes back into planning. It immediately goes back into planning. And from planning, if it is determined that, okay, it is a bug that needs to be fixed, or a new code or a new feature that needs to be developed, coding starts again. From coding now, we now begin, after coding, building takes place. Once building has been done, tests are carried out to ascertain the integrity of the application. Once this is done, it is released. Once there is a release, deployment goes into the market again. Once there's a deployment, operation continues. As always, operation is ongoing. And during operation again, over time, there is also constant need, maybe an update on certain features after probably a month or two, an update, or maybe new demands, maybe a bug, then it goes back into planning. So, and most of the feedback that goes back into planning are not as a result of operation all the time. The monitoring process is also very essential. Maybe servers need to be updated, resources are being depleted, maybe as a result of a growing scale of users. Monitoring is essential. Monitoring becomes essential. So these two aspects provide constant feedback to determine whether there has to be planning. And from planning, we go back into code. From coding, we go back into building. From building, release, deploy, and operation continues again along with monitoring. So it is a continuous, infinite loop. And trust me, every item or every activity within this process loop is automated. It is automated. These are the tools we are going to be learning. Like Akin already mentioned, we're going to be learning on the minimum about 15 tools. We're going to be learning on the minimum about 15 tools. And we're going to be learning them practically. That's why the class is pretty much hands-on. Yes, there will be a little bit of conversation like this here and there, but from the word go, you are managing and you are managing projects. You are demoing projects. That is what you're going to be doing. If you're having issues, yes, there is a help desk that you're going to become a part of, and you can throw your questions there. Like he also said, you're becoming a part of a family. So it means whatever issues you have, even after the course, you understand? I particularly make reference to the Indian approach where they train you, they push you out. You understand? The issue is not how well you are conversant with a lot of these tools or how entirely skilled you are, but the point is you are good enough to go into the market. And if you do start to encounter challenges, you have a community you can always fall back to. You understand? Some of these guys, they encounter challenges on the job and, okay, I'll sort it out by tomorrow morning. Before they get home, they send a documentation or a brief of that challenge to their team, probably back home in India and all that. And before you know what is happening, probably in a normal class, such challenges are taken as a project session or a conversation within fresh students or fresh minds within the learning process. And the solution is immediately developed and sent back to the guy in question. And he comes back to work the next day looking good. So we should be able to have that kind of community also, which basically we are more or less achieving on the go. So we are going to be learning these tools hands-on. We're going to be there's something Aki also emphasized on. It is not just about having this knowledge. You understand? Basically, it is one thing for you to be taught martial arts. It is one thing for you to be taught lawn tennis. It's one thing for you to be taught to be a sprinter. But you know what happens? To be able to compete favorable within the market, favorable within the space itself, a lot of your personal input is essential. It's going to be essential. But as far as learning these tools are concerned, learning the basics of these tools are concerned, trust me, you're going to get the best. You know, with all humility, I try to compare the way we handle our sessions to a lot of other DevOps institutes out there, DevOps training platforms out there. You know, I personally, I'm not trying to blow my horns anyway. I'm also a market or an industry person. You know, but point is, like he also said, it opens you up to opportunities if you can take your time to learn the ropes. I shuttle between 2 and 3 remote teams on the minimum. I have a team in Canada. I have another one in UK, apart from what I'm doing with Learn with Pride. And for me, it is a thing of pride also, because being able to teach also validates your ability to further understand any subject matter. So for me, it is something I take pride in. You know, it might not really be about what I'm making from or what I'm getting from my opportunity to partner with Learn with Pride. But the point is, it further validates what I know as far as DevOps is concerned. And the thing about age is out of context, because as a DevOps, within the next 30 years, a lot of us are very conversant with what ChatGPT is doing to the market presently. ChatGPT is doing a lot, but trust me, DevOps is not a job that ChatGPT can take. Trust me, because rather you are even the one at the back end making sure ChatGPT works. As a DevOps, that's just the truth. Because ChatGPT is going to be running on servers. ChatGPT is going to be running on application platforms. ChatGPT is going to constantly require development teams to manage its upgrades. So as a DevOps, as much as it is ChatGPT and tech is taking over just about every industry in the market today, from agriculture to real estate to education and thereabouts, the point is, as a DevOps, you will constantly be at the back end, particularly between developers and operation guys. But it also means that you are going to be responsible for making the entire process from build to testing to release and deploy to operate to monitor to plan and to code, back to building, testing, release, deploy, operate, monitor, back to planning. It goes on and on and on. Developers are constantly developing code. It might be for security issues. It might be for new features like we mentioned about, like we talked about. Because the more you have a product online, the more you begin to understand how vulnerable it is. Security might even become an issue. So there are constant updates that need to be plugged into the application. So code is constantly being developed. And as far as code is constantly being developed, as a DevOps, you are responsible for making sure that from the moment code is committed, it is automatically deployed back into production without any human interference. Those are the kind of tools you are going to be learning how to use. We already have an overview of some of these tools here. Much of what we're also going to be covering as far as our course is concerned goes beyond some of the tools in here, but we're going to be using this as a case study. So we already talked about the comparative difference between Agile and DevOps. You know, Agile, yes, has more to do with iteration and flexibility within the software development lifecycle. Flexibility and speed also, you know. And as much as it promotes teamwork and collaboration, where DevOps really comes into play is in collaboration, particularly within software developers and IT operations team. That is it. So who then is a DevOps? We've tried to talk about this. Who is a DevOps? Who is a DevOps? If we really want to ask. Who is a DevOps engineer? Let me bring this here, shall we? So I might be doing a lot of talking. I might not have much time to explain certain things. Copy. Paste. Who is a DevOps? Who is a DevOps? Like we mentioned already, DevOps is a methodology that focuses on better collaboration between, so we've covered much of that. You manage automation, you manage pipelines. You're going to be writing scripts, of course, but don't let any of that. What you're going to be doing, you're going to be starting from foundation. That is why, apart from taking you into a basic introduction of what DevOps is, we're also going to start you from the basics of Linux. Trust me, when a lot of people hear about Linux, they go like, oh, okay, this thing, I've heard about it, oh, powerful software, operating system, it's not like Windows. Trust me, there's nothing mystical about it. We're going to be demystifying Linux. In fact, within your first week, you're going to be connecting to remote servers. If you can get access to our current set of students, within the first week, they were already connecting to remote servers. They were already using Linux. You understand? Even with limited IT experience. But what we also try to do is make sure that we take into cognizance your level of appreciation as far as ICT is concerned, as far as tech is concerned, as far as being able to use computers are concerned. So we try to break down the language as much as possible. We make it very interactive. Though we allow you through questions during the sessions, we just don't allow such that it interferes with us being able to also meet up with the deliverables for every session. So what are the key deliverables now? Let's go into that. We're going to be learning a lot of tools. It's going to take us back to this diagram. You understand? From the moment developers begin to plan, one of the first things you want to do is, okay, as a DevOps, you are making sure that infrastructure is set up. Code is going to be managed using Git and GitHub. Jira also manages code as a platform. But for our conversation, we're going to be using Git and GitHub. For building applications, we're going to be using Maven. And along with Maven, we're going to be integrating Maven with Jenkins. We're going to be using Jenkins. We're going to be using, for testing, we're going to be using SonarQube and JUnit. See here now, we have Jenkins for release. We're also going to be using Jenkins in collaboration with, integrated with Maven for build at some point. But for release, Jenkins is core. For our CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, we're going to be using Jenkins. Then actual deployment, we're going to be using Ansible. We're going to be using Terraform. We're going to be using Ansible and we're going to be using Terraform. Chef and Puppet are also industry standards that are used for configuration as code. You understand? Configuration management. But for our course, we're going to be focusing on Ansible and Terraform. We're going to be doing Kubernetes. We're going to be doing Docker. We're going to be deploying on Kubernetes and Docker. Then operations, we're also going to be using standard Jira for ticketing, messaging in case there are issues. Team members are going to be alerted. Jenkins is also going to form part of our ticketing and messaging system. You understand, based on this iterative loop we talked about. These are many of the tools you're going to be using and you're going to be learning to deploy as we go. These are many of the tools you're going to be learning to deploy as we go. Let me see if I can get a quick list out of these tools. Starting from Linux. Starting from Linux. Starting from Linux. We'll go into, Linux is just basically your servers. We're going to be working on Amazon. We're going to be working with Amazon. We're going to be working with Amazon, AWS. We're going to be deploying our servers from AWS. Shell scripting, we're going to be doing shell scripting. It is appropriate that you must understand basically one scripting language as a DevOps, you will not necessarily need to have coding knowledge or ability to code, but it's also very essential that you do understand is a basic scripting language. Your understanding of shell scripting is going to open you up to a lot of understanding in terms of other scripting languages, from Python to Java. We're going to be doing hot fixes. You're going to learn how to hot fix a line, any line of code within your application source code. You're going to be learning a lot of that. You're going to be learning Tomcat and JBoss. You're going to be learning Tomcat and JBoss. You're going to be deploying applications to Tomcat and JBoss. Maven is basically for building application artifacts. Code has to be converted into deployable packages. Raw code cannot be deployed as an application for users. So it has to be converted. So the build tool we're going to be learning how to use is Maven, because basically the environment we're going to be working on is Java. We're going to be covering a lot on Java codes. Then apart from Tomcat as the application server, we're also going to be focusing on web servers, where you have the Apache HTTP server. We're going to be talking a lot about that. Then for code quality analysis, testing, comparing lines of codes to unit test cases, we're going to be using SonarQube. That is, in terms of code coverage, we're going to be using SonarQube for code coverage. SonarQube is a testing tool. We're going to be covering a lot of that. Then for Artifactory repository, and also for proxy, and also for proxy software building software remotely, and remote proxy for building software, we're going to be using Nexus. Nexus is an Artifactory repository such that every artifact we build using Maven, for instance, is automatically deployed to Nexus as an Artifactory repository where it is kept for redundancy or for future reference. But Nexus also serves as a remote server that helps us access redundancies, dependencies that we are constantly going to be using for building artifacts. Normally, when you build artifacts using Maven, Maven downloads from Maven Central Repository, which is an open environment. But for security purpose, it is not standard practice. So we're going to also be configuring Nexus as a remote repository for Maven to secure our builds. We're going to be doing a lot of that. Then we're going to now go into Jenkins. Jenkins is a utility tool. It is a CI/CD tool. We're going to be focusing on continuous integration and continuous deployment. CI/CD tool. There are alternatives to Jenkins in the market, but so far, Jenkins is the most favorite and one of the most globally accepted CI/CD tools in the market today. In fact, you will be employed, a lot of you will be employed just for knowing Jenkins, knowing how to use Jenkins. We have guys on our team today that the only thing they do is they just manage everything that has to do with Jenkins, pipelines and deployments. That's what they do. So we're going to be mastering Jenkins. Then going forward, we're now going to go and we'll cover Docker. We're going to go into Docker. Docker is our first introduction to containerization. Docker is our first introduction to containerization. As at the point where we are using, Maven and deploying into Tomcat, we are still deploying it directly into virtual machines. You understand? So, but when we start using Docker, we're deploying containers. But basically, we're also going to learn how to build images that will deploy containers using Jenkins. We're going to learn how to build images that will be deployed into containers using Jenkins. So that is also an extent to which we're going to break down our knowledge as far as Jenkins is concerned. Immediately we're done with Jenkins, we're going to dive straight into Kubernetes. We're going to dive straight into Kubernetes. K8s. This is where it begins to get interesting. Everything from the first tool here, everything from the first tool here to tool number 8, most DevOps institutes don't teach you. In fact, from the moment you come in, the first thing they want to teach you is Jenkins, containerization. Yes, because these are basically some of the most sought after skills in the market today. Every recruiter wants to know, oh, do you know CI/CD? Do you understand containerization? Are you very familiar with Kubernetes? And once you're able to affirm to all this, you are very much as good as hired. You understand? So for a lot of us, the advantage we're going to have with this entire background from 1 to 8 is the fact that we are going to be able to claim at least 1-2 years industry experience, because not every DevOps in the market knows these tools. They are fundamental background tools that a lot of DevOps don't know. And they are going to be knowledge that are going to help you even when you start learning infrastructure as code, when you start going into Kubernetes, because you're going to be so grounded with managing code. You're going to be so grounded with your Linux environment. You're going to be so grounded with AWS as an environment. In fact, before we even start learning Docker, we're going to go into AWS. We're going to cover AWS at solutions architect level. At solutions architect level. A lot of us might already have knowledge of AWS at practitioner level, but for DevOps, you basically require AWS. So you require AWS knowledge at solutions architect level. That's the level of knowledge you require when you want to deploy using AWS as a DevOps. You understand? That is what we're going to be covering. Yes, they might look extensive, they might look, but nothing should freak you out. We're going to take each one of them gradually and we're going to cover them before moving to the next one. And the point is, as we progress into each one, succeeding one, you begin to piece them together. No single tool is isolated from the other. Everything we're going to be learning, getting to even the 10th to the 11th, integrates from the very beginning. Your knowledge of number 1 is going to be very essential to how well you can use number 12. Those are things you're going to be learning. So Kubernetes. Inside Kubernetes, aside Kubernetes, now we start learning the 13, Ansible. Ansible. 14, Terraform. At this point, a lot of you are going to be hired. At this point, a lot of you are going to be hired. We have guys that we've trained now that are actually in the market and they are doing very fine. They are doing at least 6-7 figures already. We have guys that personally I have trained, they are in the market, they are doing fantastically well. So under AWS, we're going to be deploying databases, MySQL. We're going to be learning a bit of Cloud Foundry. But before we even round up with K8s, Terraform, Ansible, we're going to be learning monitoring tools. We're going to be working with monitoring tools. Monitoring tools. And when we talk of monitoring tools, we're talking of tools such as Prometheus and Grafana. Prometheus and Grafana. We're going to be learning Prometheus and Grafana. And Grafana. These are tools we're going to be learning. And remember, when we say Terraform, basically what we're talking about is infrastructure as code. infrastructure as code. Ansible, yes, configuration management. A lot of configuration management is done with Ansible. Okay, sorry, Kubernetes is containerization. Terraform, what we mean by infrastructure as code. So basically, you're going to cover all of this thing. We're going to be running multiple projects. In fact, just about every other class, there's 1 or 2 projects you're going to have to deal with. You're going to be constantly getting your hands dirty. That's what you're going to be doing. You'll be getting your hands constantly dirty as far as this session is concerned. So we need to understand that. As a DevOps, we're going to cover all of these tools. But there's something I want you guys to also understand. It is not, being a DevOps is not, it's not a destination. It's a journey. You understand? Like the average piano player, there's a popular pianist, there's this common saying that if I don't train for 1 day, I know. If I don't train for 2 days, my coach knows. If I don't train for 3 days, my team knows. If I don't train for 4 days, my audience knows. Basically, even as a DevOps, just as every other industry skill mandates, you will constantly have to put yourself out there. A lot of these skills, a lot of these tools we're going to be learning are constantly being updated. They're constantly being upgraded as far as the industry is concerned. So what you think you actually know yesterday, give it another week, give it another month, there are constant updates. The features are different. So you don't want to sit back thinking you know where the industry is moving ahead. So you are constantly going to be competing. Recruiters use technical experts to handle the technical sides of their interviews. So you might be encountering some of the conversations from a different point of view as compared to how you actually learned it or how you've even been deploying before you had the opportunity to come in for an interview. So you will find yourself in a situation where you are constantly putting yourself out there just so that you can favorably compete within the market. That is how it works. But as far as DevOps is concerned, acquiring it as a tool or acquiring it as a skill, you can't go wrong. It is still, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, it is in fact, it is on top of the list in terms of LinkedIn's most emerging jobs for 2023. As far as LinkedIn is concerned, most emerging jobs for 2023, DevOps is on top of the list. DevOps and Agile are helping businesses to increase their productivity, reduce the time to market for their products, and have better returns on investments. So when you're coming in as a DevOps, everybody on that team, even the average business knows that when you're coming in as a DevOps, you are helping to come them automate. And these tools you're going to be learning, that is what you are going to learn, and you're going to see how these tools are going to actually help you. By the time you are at Jenkins, you really get to understand that you are automating. You are automating the entire process. That's the beauty of it. Companies are deploying faster now these days. And the beauty of it is that a lot of these companies are pre-funded. Venture capitalists are coming in. Once there's a viable product, funding is made available, and they want deployment within weeks. So there is that need for faster product releases into the market. So there's also that, there now becomes that need for automation. Most developers, most guys that write code, they don't understand the automation. They just know how to write code. The guys that manage operations and all that, they don't understand what it is to send feedback to developers. They just know how to operate it because that is what they are employed to do. Because forward-thinking organizations, they bring in specific people for specific roles or specific tasks. But you as a DevOps, you are in the middle of the key chain, making sure that there is seamless interaction. There is seamless, the entire process is seamless. From the moment there is a ticket from operation to development, back to deployment, everything is seamless. You will learn how to write codes that when you write those codes, once you deploy them on your pipeline, you can go to sleep. Once a developer uploads a code to GitHub, automatically your pipeline will take that code, run it through all the tests, run it through, it will build the artifact, it will test the code, and it will deploy it to production on your servers. You're going to learn how to write those codes. Forget whether you understand coding, forget whether you understand tech or not. We're going to make it so simple such that that is what you're going to be doing. A lot of the guys on the team today will testify to that. You get it? So when we talk about what projects are included, these are the kind of projects we're talking about. You're going to be doing projects with every single one of these tools. On each of these tools, for instance, you're going to do at least, we're talking about 4 or 5 projects on the list. Some of them you're going to do like 10 projects. For Maven, for instance, you're constantly running projects. SonarQube, you're going to run multiple projects. You're going to configure servers to see your pipeline. You're going to configure your pipeline itself to see your Maven build tool. Your Maven build tool will see your remote servers. The SonarQube tool will see your Maven, Nexus, Jenkins. You will integrate all these servers together. So before you even get to number 2 or number 3 tool, you're already automating and building servers on AWS. You're already learning AWS security. It means whether you like it or not, you're already a cloud engineer before we actually start learning AWS. And you know how in demand big cloud engineers also are within the market. So your ability to boast that you are an AWS engineer might just be the trick for you. And like Akin said, you might not even need to finish this course before you start putting yourself out there in the market. And there's every guarantee from all you're going to be learning, the jobs are going to come as fast as possible. That is it. So who should attend this course? That's the next question we want to ask. The DevOps engineer is a key role. So this role is assumed by somebody who is supposed to be a leader. You understand? Yes, you will naturally learn the need to collaborate. You will naturally learn the needs or why it is the necessity to work with team members. Because whether you like it or not, everybody that is bringing you on their team wants to actually know how well they can work with you. Aside the fact that you're going to be working with other team members, as a DevOps to a large extent, you're going to be like a leader because developers are going to be looking to you. Operation guys are going to be looking to you if anything goes wrong. It doesn't still mean you must know everything, but the truth is, as far as all these tools are concerned, truth is, as a DevOps, you must know everything. You must know. But in most cases, you're not always going to be working alone. Trust me. So don't let that freak you out also. As a DevOps, you're going to be brought on board a team where probably you're going to have like 2 or 3 other DevOps. So there's actually room for improvement and room to learn, even as you go. But basically, the fundamental skills you need to even come on board has to be tight. You need to understand them. You understand? So for ensuring that DevOps strategy is implemented end to end within the organization, within the business itself, the business model itself, that is why you are required to come in as a DevOps. So while bringing about a positive difference in the environment, yes, the expectations of you are going to be much. But when you start to learn these tools and you start to see how automation works, you start to see how integration works, and you start to see how collaboration works, trust me, a lot of these things are going to make sense to you. A lot of these things are going to make serious sense to you. So don't let any of these parts of the conversation freak you out at all. So if you're already working in operations, or you are already a developer, you're already writing code, yes, DevOps might be a very good consideration for you. Or you're just still looking at just switching. like hacking, switching from, yes, some of us have been into tech for a while. So it basically means that there's, yes, I write code, I write some code, but as a DevOps, I'm not required to write code, but I don't write code professionally. But there's no aspect of ICT or tech within the tech market that I do. I do testing, apart from being a full-blown DevOps. So point is, you don't necessarily need to have, maybe I need to have it as your instructor or as your facilitator, such that at least you can have confidence in what you're being taught. But for you that you are coming in, you don't necessarily need to have any of this, even if you're coming as a teacher. Trust me, yes, it would be nice if you have some links. If you can basically log into a computer, you can open an application. You can install an application, maybe download from the internet and install. You're good. You can learn DevOps. You understand? Guys that are already doing what you call testing can come in. So as a DevOps, once you become as a DevOps, you start off with roles such as what kind of roles are you? Once you finish this training, there are roles that you can conveniently fit into even before you round up your DevOps training. You understand? System administrator, automation and test engineer, maybe even an operations manager for software development environments. Then you can progress to be a build and release engineer. By the time we start doing what you call it, containerization, yeah, using Docker and Kubernetes, you're already within the SRE space. Site reliability engineer. From Jenkins, you're already a build and release manager, a build and release engineer. From the moment you learn Jenkins, that's tool number 9. You're already a build and release engineer. A test engineer also, but a full automation expert. So before we now say, okay, when you now learn monitoring, Prometheus and Grafana, you also learn ticketing, you are a full-blown DevOps. Then we can leave you. But trust me, we're not entirely leaving you on your own. The platform we're providing also allows you to come at any point in time when you have issues, even on the job, you have a family you belong to. You have a family you belong to. So IT team leaders, software developers, system administrators, cloud engineers, developers, even if you are doing, somebody said he was a mechanical engineer, but still wanted to come into tech. And the moment he came into DevOps, we were able to groom him. He's fantastic. He's doing fantastically well now. He's earning over 7 figures. The point is, and one of the belief for me is that a whole lot of you are even going to be doing better than me. And it depends on how much strength you have anyway. Because per time, I try not to take more contracts that I can handle. So at every point in time, I don't do more than 2 or 3. That's for me personally. And some of you, you might get high-paying ones. We have guys on our team that they are recording as much as 120,000 per annum, and they are doing 3 gigs. Each one is paying on the minimum $100,000. So cumulatively on per annum, they are doing like 300, 360. It depends if you can juggle it. Nobody's going to stop you. But personally, I like to promise and deliver. I don't like to make excuses. So it depends on how well you can crash or burn the candles from both ends and still meet up with your timelines. Good for you. But those are the opportunities that are available within the market. Those are the opportunities that are available within the market for you as a DevOps. You understand? So additional perks, Aki already talked about that, access to study materials. In fact, I think what you are getting is a lifetime access to study materials. Some of these materials, if you feel, oh, you probably want to refresh your knowledge on this subject matter, come back to the platform. And if you feel the videos are not satisfactory enough, the help desk is there. Post the question. We have presently about 1, 2, 3 fully functional, real-time DevOps that are working as full-time DevOps on the platform that will answer any question you throw in. You understand? If any of those questions are not answered as at when convenient, I will personally come in also and attend to those issues. Whether it is infrastructure as code, whether it's AWS, whether it is deployment, whatever it is. but you are already part of the community. So the support and help desk is there for you. Yes, Aki also mentioned the fact that you're going to have resume building platforms, you know, recommended for you. Some might be free, some you might be required to pay some surcharge or something. But point is, you have access, to the community. You have access to these materials as they are made available. I cannot overemphasize what DevOps is, what it does, why you should be a DevOps. A lot of us already, we've done our pre-research before coming to this session. A lot of us are already working in the industry, but we just need to upgrade on our skills. I've seen a lot of DevOps training platforms out there. Trust me, forgive my use of English, a lot of them are shitty. You understand? Trust me, I don't want to mention names, but and they charge crazy amounts, as much as $3,000. Like I'm like, oh gosh, $2,500, $2,000 minimum. I'm like, it's not the same guys that I want to see their video. I'm like, but what you're going to be learning here, for those of you, once you come on board, you might be given access to even the old videos. See the quality of what is there compared to what is even available. There are a lot of videos these guys put on YouTube and everything. See it and make your decision. But if there's one thing I can assure you, within the 5 months or thereabout that we're going to be spending together, you're going to be getting quality for your money and quality for your time. Aside the fact that you are formally being inducted into a DevOps community that is constantly growing. That is it for me. I really appreciate you all for your time and audience. I really do. If there are any questions, I really want to use the remaining 10 minutes or so to attend to them and whatever concerns you might have. Please open, admin. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Please, if you have any question, please, you can raise your hand. I will call you to ask your questions. Please kindly raise your hand if you have any questions, or you can as well drop it in the chat. So if you have any questions, please kindly raise your hand. Do you
Somebody was asking, what about Ansible? We're going to cover Ansible. We're going to cover Ansible for configuration management. We're going to cover Ansible. We're going to learn to use Ansible to deploy infrastructure, deploy servers, manage servers. We're going to cover Ansible. We will not do Chef, and we will not do Puppet. So you will cover Ansible and Terraform. We're going to do Ansible and Terraform. That's what we'll cover for the purpose of our conversation. Ansible does the same thing that Chef does, and Terraform does exactly what you have with Puppets. So based on employer, based on the team you're working on, a lot of these teams have their preferred tool. So sometimes you want to even come in and recommend to them why you think Ansible is preferable to Chef that you're using, and we're going to learn a lot of that. You're going to learn, and if you can Google it today, it will tell you what each of them does, but it will also tell you why Ansible is preferable to Chef. You understand? Because if you're using Chef, you need to probably install additional engines to run Chef. Whereas with Ansible, the moment you install Ansible, you're good to go. You understand? That's one perk that comes with it. We're also going to run Terraform for infrastructure as code. So that is that. Somebody was trying to ask a question.
Yeah, please, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Don't be shy. We are all here to learn, right? So you can raise your hand. I'll call you to ask your question, or you can drop it in the chat. The actual cost is $7.99, but there is 40% discount that you can benefit if you are registering between now and the 10th of April. It will be kicking off. The program will be kicking off, I think, 17th of April. So if you are registering between now and the 10th of April, you can still enjoy the 40% discount, and only half of that is due to start, and the other half can be paid within 6 to 8 weeks. So that is it. If you want to enroll, you can message this number. You can chat me up and we'll go from there. The cost in Naira is 650,000 before the discount. After the discount is 390. And half of this is required to start again, and other half paid within 6 to 8 weeks. Is it an everyday class? It is not an everyday class, it's twice a week. But as I said in my, when I was presenting, the class might be twice a week, but your own learning should be an everyday journey for the next 4 to 5 months, because at the end of the program, you want to stand a chance of competing with people. So you will not restrict your learning to twice a week. Your own learning is going to be every day because you need time to practice what has been covered in class. That is why it is not an everyday thing. But for you, it will be an everyday journey for the next 4 months or 5 months if you really want to see the result. All right. Thank you for the insight. I just want some clarification on how the class will be delivered. Will it be real-time class or videos will be shared to everyone to go through? No, it's a real-time class. But the real-time class will be recorded. All sessions will be recorded just in case anyone misses the class. You can go back to the recording, but it's a live class. It's not a recorded, you won't be sent a pre-recorded session, no. Please, what time is the training proper in Nigeria? The training time is 8 p.m. UK and Nigeria at the same time now. So those 2 days will be from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. In the evening. Do you offer a certificate at the end of the course? Yes. So all our courses are CPD accredited. That means it meets the professional standard, and the CPD certificate is recognized in over 60 countries. UK, Canada, Australia, US, Nigeria, and Ghana, it is recognized in over 60 countries. So CPD certificate will be issued at the end of the training. What time of the day? I just mentioned it will be 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. In the evening. The WhatsApp number, you cannot call the WhatsApp number. You can only message me on that WhatsApp number. So if you are trying to call, it will not be reachable, but you can only message that WhatsApp number. So if you send a message on that WhatsApp number, it should go through. You can only send a message. If you try to call it, it will not go through. So only a message to that number will go through. So please note that only a WhatsApp message will go through. All right. Stephen, you raise your hand. If you want to unmute and ask a question, please. Hi, Stephen, are you there? All right, let's go. Okay.
Hi, Akin. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry, my earpiece was bugging out for a moment there.
No.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask a question regarding the sessions, the training sessions. Do we have a reservation for some drop-in sessions where we can get in and ask questions? Like if we're doing a self-learning, do we have to wait till the next session?
No, you don't have to. We have what did Michael call it? A help desk.
Help desk, okay.
That is created for that purpose. You don't need to wait till next session to ask questions. No. You can drop your message on the help desk and someone will attend to it there. Michael made mention of 3 or 4 people that are working professionally, that are on the help desk, that are ready to help with or support with any issues or blocker that you may have.
Okay, wonderful. And I also noticed you only mentioned one service provider, AWS. What about Azure?
Michael, over to you.
Yeah, basically, as a DevOps part-time, that's why in the market you have AWS DevOps, you have Azure DevOps, and you now have GCP DevOps. Because basically, the time it takes you to even master one platform is enough time, you know, is more, how would you require a lot of time to even entirely master one platform. You don't entirely get, you don't exactly get a DevOps in the market where they will tell you one single DevOps is an Azure DevOps or an AWS DevOps or a GCP DevOps at the same time. No, it is rare. It is rare. I can tell you, I've not come across one. I hear there are guys like that, but trust me, that's why most recruiters, much of the time, when they profile for DevOps, they always state that either AWS or Azure or GCP. No recruiter will expect you to have AWS and GCP knowledge at the same time. Because each platform alone is so demanding on its own that you need time, you need to master it. You need years to master it in terms of architecting. Architecting is a big deal. So you don't readily meet guys that, yes, some of the toolings are the same, some of the deployments are the same, but when it comes to most of the services and having a full grasp of them, they are totally different. They are totally different. So in the marketplace, you're going to be either referred to as an AWS DevOps or an Azure DevOps. You understand? Or a GCP DevOps. So you don't really knock your head, you don't need to knock your head about trying to be a multi-platform DevOps at the same time. No. No, I don't. You will probably need a lifetime to cover that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Steven. IK, do you want to unmute and ask your question? IK.
Thanks, Aki, and thanks, Michael. My question is, I think I have 3 questions. One is, what days of the week, first and foremost, and yeah, what days of the week, first and foremost, are the trainings?
All right, we are looking at Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay, and will the video recordings of the trainings be available?
Yes.
You know, from
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You need the recordings to go through to replicate
Right.
whatever you want to do as well. Yes.
Okay, and it's going to be my last question. Maybe you could just take someone else's questions, and I'll come back to you if I remember. Sorry. Thanks.
No problem, Mike. No problem. Oladele,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
you're welcome. Oladele, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Okay. Good evening, all.
Yeah, good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My own is a little bit presentation on training fee. Having a partner for them. That's one year you play. That's fine. Then 2, using the cloud platform. Basically, for me, where I work, we are already using platform. And trying to system it to AWS. I feel it might not be comfortable. I don't know. How kind of just like the instructor thing. You don't need to be a master of board. Just focus on one.
Oladele, you're sounding really low now. I can hardly hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Hello?
Yes, much better.
Okay, just like saying, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay, this is better.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me just do a recap. The first one was I need better clarification on the fee because I was having a bad network. I couldn't hear very well.
All right.
Concerning the discount, and after that date, when would they start paying full? That's one. Then 2, I'm already using Azure where I work, and I have a little bit of grip on Azure. So going to now learn AWS, it doesn't make me look like, a master of all. I think just like what the facilitator was saying, just grab one, build on that. I think I just need more insight on that. And lastly, for some of us that's working Monday to Friday, I don't know, I'm just trying to appeal if there might be a better day to really mash this up. Because Monday is beginning of the week, Wednesday is still within the week. Probably we might take one day within the week and one weekend, which might suit some of us. Thank you.
No problem. Michael, do you want to take that one, and I will take the one relevant to?
Yeah, so I thought about his case, which is quite peculiar. The point is, most of these deployments are generic to the platform. Like AWS has CloudWatch for monitoring. They have CloudFormation for serverless deployment. And Azure has a replication of these same services. They have specific names, they call them. You understand? So if we're going to be learning most of these services on AWS, and you are having the opportunity to also learn them, you know, probably you could take the time to understand the replica, the Azure replica of these services, such that when you are not doing your demos on AWS, like we're going to be using for our real-time classes, you can be doing your demos on Azure. That's what I can recommend, because I'm not an Azure DevOps, I'm an AWS DevOps. Understand? And I can only teach you on AWS. But I know that Azure has a replica of each and every service that AWS has. So since you're already quite familiar with Azure, you might want to quickly understand, which this particular service on AWS, what is the Azure equivalent of it, such that I can see how I can deploy the same thing on Azure. You understand? But basically deploying free tier servers, deploying firewalls, they are more or less the same approach, whether Azure or AWS. Understand? So they are part of our demos that you don't necessarily need to use the AWS platform to deploy. You can just still go ahead and use your Azure. But for our learning purpose, it's going to be AWS. And if you still feel convinced that you can manage both, you know, or you want to put Azure aside for the time being, or you can manage both, but there's always an Azure equivalent for every AWS service that we're going to use. So the choice is entirely up to you.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And for the other question as regard the price, the actual price is $7.99, but you have 40% discount until the 10th of this month. We are open to start on the 17th. So from now till the 10th, you can take advantage of the 40%. And after the 40%, it's only half of the payment that is due to start, and the other half can be paid within 6 to 8 weeks. And regarding the days as well, yes, we can look at probably one day in the week and probably one day during the weekend as well. But anything that we are doing as well, it will be in the evening anyway, so that everyone will be settled at home and all of that. Then you can receive the lecture. So it will still be at night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. But yes, that can be doable as well.
Okay, thank you. What is the duration? And then
It's
you talk about currency. Which currency are you talking about?
I'm talking about pounds. The duration is 4 to 5 months. The price I just gave you now is £799.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So 40% discount between now and 10th of April.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. And the number on your screen, you can chat me up on that number. You can't call me, but you can chat me up on that number. But if you want to, you can call me on WhatsApp on that number as well. But if you want to actually call my direct number as well, I can put that there. So that's, yeah, you can call that number as well. If you want to call and speak on the normal phone call, you can call the other number. So the first number is just WhatsApp only or WhatsApp call. Right. So thanks. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Sorry, I can. I mean,
Yeah.
without prejudice to, I mean, the other participant who just asked the question about the days. I think Monday when tweaking the days will be really very subjective because I think Monday and Wednesday may be comfortable for some of us, but I know it will be really subjective. I think we should. I don't know how you're going to play around it. It's a tall order for you. We're just weekends are not for sure. Weekends, for instance, weekends don't work for me. For instance, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah,
So that's on the.
I fully understand, and that's why we're trying to. On a good day, we run it Tuesdays and Thursdays. That is the normal days that we run it actually. But because one session is still going on, that is why Mondays and Wednesday. But we'll see how we can play around with the days. But one thing that is certain is, even probably weekends or weekdays at times, we might not be free to attend the session. And that is why we have the recorded session or the recording to go back to as well. But as regards to days, yes, we'll look into that so that at least they can accommodate most people.
Okay, thanks. Are we going to get this video for today?
Yes, have you joined the WhatsApp group? If you have joined the WhatsApp group, the video will be shared on the WhatsApp group, or you can go to our YouTube channel, Learn with Pride. Just search for Learn with Pride. It will be posted on our YouTube channel as well.
Okay, if you can just send the link to the WhatsApp group on this chat group, we would appreciate. So we just.
Yeah, I think my staff has sent. I already send it now. One
Thank
second.
you. My last question is from Michael. Michael, thanks for the insight into what DevOps is all about. You had mentioned that at different stages, and it was very incisive, 1 to 15 tools, so to say, that we're going to be learning. And I think from the 10th or the 11th stage, you are good to go to becoming things like build and release engineer, and automation and test engineer. Could you run us through that again, if you don't mind? Because I recall you said build and release engineer. By the time you learn Jenkins, you are good to go at Jenkins stage, based on the level that you built here of the tools. You are good to go as a build and release engineer. At I can't remember what stage you had mentioned site reliability engineer and all that. Could you just quickly go over that again? Thanks.
Let me bring this up. The point is, you're correct. So thanks for catching that. As at when you are done with Jenkins, once you're done with Jenkins, you already understand build and release. Once you're done with Jenkins, because by the time we're done with Jenkins, you're already able to build software artifacts. You're already able to artifact them in remote repositories. And you're already able to run tests on these applications. So testing is part of what you have a broad understanding of. There's also a tool called Selenium. With your understanding of SonarQube, you'll be able to understand Selenium also. So testing, building, and release covers everything you know from 1 to 9. And by the time you are starting out at 1, you are already using AWS. I don't know if you understand that. From the moment we start setting up Linux servers, we already have an AWS account. We're already setting up servers on AWS. We're already setting up firewalls on AWS. Your SSH port with which you're going to be linking to your remote servers on AWS is a firewall. So you are already a cloud engineer. You will learn how to update these servers. You will learn how to install software packages on these servers till we get to AWS itself. So there are a lot of skills you already understand. You're already a cloud engineer. You're already a build and release engineer. SREs come when you start to understand containerization and monitoring. This second part, containerization and monitoring. You understand? You can learn monitoring and containerization without infrastructure as code. There is a tool we might most likely chip in, which is application performance monitoring using New Relic before we even go into containerization. Application performance monitoring.
You are not sharing your screen. Do you want me to stop sharing so that you can share? Do you want to share your screen, Michael?
Yeah, I thought I was sharing this screen. This one I'm typing on.
No, I stopped the sharing.
Oh, please enable this sharing.
Okay, yeah, we can see it now, I think.
I'm sharing the screen. So application performance monitoring, APM, using New Relic. New Relic is the tool. New Relic is a web-based service. It's free. It has a free package you can subscribe to that helps you to monitor applications. So if you are monitoring applications at this level, and you also understand containerization, you are qualified as a site reliability engineer. Because one of the basic things site reliability engineers do is they monitor. They monitor. But we are not going to teach you Prometheus and Grafana until we have taught you Kubernetes and Docker and infrastructure as code and configuration management. So as a full DevOps, you are also going to be working as a site reliability engineer while you also work as a DevOps. So you're not going to just be looking for jobs as a DevOps or as a job as a site reliability engineer. For entry-level jobs, you might want to come in as any of these other roles to start with. You might want to come in as entry-level, taking up any role that covers any of these initial tools. But what we're trying to emphasize on is the fact that as your learning progresses, at each stage you are, you should be able to know what kind of jobs you can apply for. As at the point where you are learning solutions architect, you can be a cloud engineer. You can just be managing and deploying servers for the team. There are guys that do that. Understand? But in demand today, the high demand roles in the market are basically DevOps and SREs. DevOps and SREs. You can be fortunate, especially when you just want something to start out with. You can go from here to here. Build and release. Linux engineers. There are Linux administrators in the market. There are Linux administrators in the market. And there are, what you call it now, build and release administrators in the market also. Build and release managers. Linux administrator, build and release manager, and cloud engineers. Being able to add this application monitoring using New Relic to Kubernetes and Docker, being able to add it to Kubernetes and Docker allows you to work as an SRE. At this level, you can work as an SRE. Once you just tell them, hey, come, I know New Relic so much, forget what you want to achieve or what you want to monitor or whatever platform we have built here. Using Kubernetes and Docker, you can monitor. Because SREs are basically one of the fundamental rules for an SRE is monitoring. Understand? Checking integrity of systems, checking likelihood of bugs or system failures, identifying when there's need for updates or upgrades on systems. That's what SREs do. So it's largely monitoring. But before you can even start monitoring, you need to even have a broad understanding of how systems are deployed. You also need to, so they're not just going to take you just because you understand monitoring. There's also emphasis on your knowledge of how the systems are deployed in the first place. So, but you are going to be more comfortable as a full DevOps when you now understand these additional three to everything else. That's just the message I'm trying to pass across.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Okay, are you okay with that?
Thank you very much, Mike. Mike, what are systems? Do you mean servers?
Servers, and the applications running on them. Collectively, you can call them systems. You know, they are just generic words you use to say the same thing. We are going forward. We might be interchanging a lot of words, but trust me, if there's anything you're not clear about, that's the beauty of the session. In fact, we have a lot of guys on our current class now that they've changed my style of facilitating. I always have to stop in between and answer a lot of questions before I progress into the conversation of the day. But I've learned not to see any reason in that, because it has to be as interactive as possible, such that, you know, we try to accommodate their different levels of understanding of the subject matter. When I say systems, I'm basically still talking about infrastructure and everything running on them. When I say system, I'm still talking about infrastructure and everything running on them. When we say infrastructure, we're talking about servers, the platform and the servers running on them. So even on the servers running on them, you need applications to run on them. So even your applications, even your monitoring application is an application to monitor the applications that you are deploying. So collectively, you can call them systems. You know, as somebody that has a background in systems engineering, network engineering, don't mind me if I use that word interchangeably for servers and applications running on them. But you do have an understanding of what I'm trying to say.
Okay, my hope is that you would be as you bring it home to those of us who would have little or no knowledge about IT.
But trust me, before I call them systems, I would have broken down everything to you as to what each and every aspect of it is and what it entails. Before I start calling them systems, or before I start calling it platform, you know, or deployment, okay, at the end of the day. So, but I would have broken down. The whole idea is to break it down. If just like you're asking, just like you're confronting me with the issue now, it is my responsibility to make sure that I break it down in as clear and as simple analogy as I can. That's just it.
All right, thanks. Thank you.
But trust me, we're going to consider those that don't have too much of a background. Trust me.
It's not too much background. It's no background at all. You have to assume that we don't have any background at all.
Zero background.
But you can use a computer, right? You can use a computer.
Yeah,
right?
we can use computer.
Yes. We can type.
You can use it.
We're graduates now. We're graduates. We can type.
Exactly. If you can use a computer, if you can start a computer, trust me, the rest is.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Aki.
Yeah, thanks, Aki. Thanks, Michael. Sylvanus Owolabi, please quickly ask your question, please.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, it has really been a very, very interesting section. And so my question is just on the payment stuff. Now, my question is for the discount price. Is it possible we make the half payment? Those of us that we would love to apply for this.
Yes. I try as much as possible to make it convenient for people. So even after the discount, if you don't have the full payment, you don't have to pay the full payment. But to get on the training, half payment will be required, and the other half, can be paid within 6 to 8 weeks. So basically, the theory is the half payment will cover you for half of the training. And for the second part of the training, you need to balance it up before the second part of the training. So you have like 2 months to pay the second half, or 2.5 months.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sylvanus. Thanks. Pamela, please unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
I just want to know the Naira equivalent.
It's in Naira, it's 650,000 Naira. After the discount is 390. And half of that 390 is required to start.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Pamela. Thanks. Oladele Buki, please can you unmute and ask your question? Oladele Buki.
Yeah, thank you one more time. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I didn't know. You guys are based in UK, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I didn't know whether you guys are open for business. Probably maybe having a Nigerian company, or I don't know.
You see the number. Oh, you can't see my screen. Okay, let me share my screen. 1 second. 1 second. Let me share my screen. And you can.
But you guys are open for business, right?
In Nigeria, you mean?
Yes, probably maybe coming up to a contract or.
That's what I want to. So I'm open to business. So that's why I said you can copy the number on your screen and we can discuss that. You can, probably message me on WhatsApp. I can call you up and we can discuss that further if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah. So the number on your screen, the first one is a WhatsApp number. The second one is a mobile number. You can copy. Just send me a message. I will call you back. Just remind me about this conversation, and I'll call you back.
Okay. Then, lastly, I didn't know I can talk to Michael.
Yeah.
Because,
ask the question.
Yeah, President, I'm having a challenge concerning my Tomcat application. Maybe web server where I've been trying to install my XSL. I will discover that after installing and my Tomcat is up, I will notice some systems will still be requiring me. I mean, they'll be saying no, this link is not secured with mobile. So I didn't know what's really going on. Some are showing it's active, while some are showing not secured.
And that's a technical question. Is it within the scope of this conversation? But what you can do is
why I ask because along the discussion or your presentation, you quite talked about Tomcat, Apache server. Yes. So that's why I'm kind of.
So the challenge you're having now is integrating your web server along with your application server.
No, all those ones are fine. At my back end, it's showing me that my SSL is activated, but at the front end where users will begin to go through the link, or discover some the padlock will be locked, and again I will see a kind of diagonal line showing on the padlock, a red diagonal line. So I'm kind of confused. So I feel I should meet.
Mr. Michael, you seem to have an assistant facilitator.
Yeah, apparently, yes, I do. I know what to expect during the class now. But point is,
Oh, wow.
your Tomcat, is it fully configured to accept external traffic? If your Tomcat traffic, that's another thing you need to. So you have users configured on your Tomcat, and you have commented on the Valve section of the manager's app.
Yes, I have all that, but my problem again, I don't know whether I'm correct. Our firewall is behind the DMZ.
Okay.
When I didn't know whether, because right now our IP is not our IP, our public IP is not on the public domain. So because of series of attacks, so we prefer to hide our IP and make our firewall IP to be as if it's the public IP. So whatever you are hitting that link, it is the firewall IP that will be seen. You will never see our public IP.
And
So
you just
internet
told us where your problem is coming from. You're having a firewall issue.
Okay.
That's where your problem is coming from. So you need to probably check every permission on all your available servers. From the way you're talking, I'm even suspecting you're in a VPN.
No, we're not in a VPN.
Okay, you're just the DMZ that you've set up.
Yes.
Check the routing. Check the routing protocol. I think you might have the necessary ports open, but the routing protocol might just be what is allowing traffic outside.
Okay, because it will be showing that the padlock is locked, but there will be a diagonal red line, a thin red line.
I need to see the framework you're working with. If you can diagram it, maybe I can help.
Okay, when will you be free?
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, just
Akin will give.
Okay. I'll talk to Akin. Thank you so much.
all right. Thanks, Mr. Oladele. Jude, do you want to
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. First of all, I want to also ask, do you people have a Nigerian bank account where one can make payments into?
Yeah, sure. Just message the number on your screen. I will forward that to you. Yes, that's no problem.
Okay. Then for this DevOps, does it also include web development?
No, it doesn't include that. You're a DevOps. You don't do web development. Except you want to take it as a personal thing.
Okay. Then the videos, you can also have access to the videos too.
Yes, have you joined the WhatsApp group? I just it will be the group the recording will be shared on the group, so that's not a problem.
Then again, do you people help with placement? Why during the training or after the training?
We have many students, so we don't promise that, but the way you'll be equipped, you don't even need us, because if everything has been done right, during my presentation, the first, the second, and the third, that is, you've gone through the training, the project, and you've revamped your CV and optimized your LinkedIn. Honestly, I tell you, you might not need us at all, because you'll be visible and people will start reaching out to you, and the work is out there as well, So yes, but any job that comes our way, we always share on the platform as well. Any special jobs that come our way, we always share on the platform, just that we don't do that often.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thanks everyone. Let me just go through the chat quickly. Oh, Michael, this is to you quickly. They said, on a scale of 10, how well can a newbie in IT generally progress in DevOps?
Yeah, we talked about that. You can go, by the time we are halfway, if you can commit yourself, there's something you said, Akin, if the person can commit themselves to the extra hours, going through the demos, and the interesting thing the interesting thing we're all going to learn as techies, even as a DevOps, is the fact that don't be scared of making mistakes. You understand? If the more you look at the material at the first instance, it might even look like gibberish to you. Look at it the second time. It starts to get clearer. By the time you look at it the third time, trust me, nothing will be like, everything will just fall off your eyes and you are seeing it clearly. That is how it works. So at the first instance, don't expect to get it right. So that's why the videos are going to be there. They are yours. You're going to go back to them more than twice if necessary. Some of us are going to catch up from the first instance. But trust me, from the very beginning, you might not. From the very beginning, you might not. Maybe by the time we now get into shell scripting or Git, before some of us will start piecing the thing together one by one. You understand? But we will still be trying to comprehend a whole lot of what we're saying as at the 5th module. That is how it works. I can tell you that for free. Practically, that is what happens. But whether you like it or not, the more you keep exposing yourself to the materials, being available for the sessions whenever you can, the more it gets clearer. It's not going to fall on your laps. That's the truth. So on a scale of 1 to 10, by the end of this course, you will not be a newbie anymore to tech. You will not be a newbie to tech. You would understand the conversation because we're going to lay so much emphasis on you understanding the conversation, even before deployment. So your ability to understand the conversation is going to help you even practically, because you already know what has to be done or what doesn't have to be done. So when you decide to do any demo, you already know what to avoid and what not to engage yourself. So by the end of this course, you will be like an 8. You'll be like an 8 or 9. Trust me, you'll be like that because you are constantly going to be using that computer. You cannot leave that computer alone. Even if you don't have anything to do with that computer, now you will have more to do with that computer. You are going to be to the cloud more often. You are going to, because you don't even want to owe AWS money. Let me tell you one truth. You will not want to owe admin can tell you that. You will not want to owe AWS money. You will be deleting and setting up server every day. So, and what you are doing every day, every now and then, unconsciously, you will master it, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, unconsciously, you will master it. So you just find yourself doing some things very easily. You'll be setting up servers very easily. You'll be connecting to remote servers. You'll be entering networking protocols very easily, whether you like it or not. You know? Otherwise, if you don't do that, when AWS sends you one bill of $150, you wake up. So I wish you guys the best, but the truth is, it is doable. It only requires your efforts. It only requires your efforts. You know, nothing is going to fall on your lap just like that. Just like any other skill or any other, you know, a lot of good things in life, they don't just fall from the skies. You just have to engage it. So I believe that answers that question.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I think we've spent enough time on this, and I believe we've all been, we've learned something one way or the other tonight.
For me, at the end of the day, the joy is just building the community. That's going to be the joy for me. Build the community, have guys that will bring their own knowledge and their own approach to the same subject matter. That's just it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I tell you, I think even on the current cohort that we are running, we have a pilot, on that cohort, and he's doing great, even, he's always ahead of the class, when that hunger to learn is there, when that fire is burning inside you, and also you don't want to waste your money, you go above and beyond to know it, as I said, you will not restrict your learning to 2 days a week. Your learning has to be an everyday journey for the duration of the program, because that is the only way you can build up experience to compete with those who has been doing it in the industry for 2-3 years. I'm sure no one wants to finish and be applying for an intern role. You don't want to do that. The aim is to do it and start making money at the end of the program. For that to happen, it will eat out of your time. That means Nollywood, if you are a Nollywood, Bollywood, Hollywood fan, that needs to stop for a while. You just need to sacrifice something to get something,
Let me chip that one in. That's why I said the first 8 modules, most DevOps institutes don't teach it. Why we are emphasizing on it is such that when you start conversing with a recruiter and you're telling them you know these tools, you can actually claim that you've been a DevOps for 2-3 years minimum. Just like what Akin is saying. Well, the way we're going to be teaching you, you're not just coming out like you are an intern or you are going to be saying, I just learned. No, you will claim confidently. That is why you know how to use those tools. And you have been actively deploying and building applications using those tools. You will not say you are learning it or you just learned it. No, because the demos you are going to be doing are real life demos. the same way applications are deployed in real time. So you will claim at least 2-3 years industry knowledge as a DevOps. So I think that is an advantage you're also going to have when it comes to being visible for work, as they are all constantly available. Recruiters are going to look for you, whether you like it or not. All right,
Yeah.
please.
Thanks, Michael. Oh, Jude, is that a new hand?
Yes, it's a new hand. Please, I also want to ask, is there any, at the end of all this training, is there like any international certification or exams we can take?
We will recommend the AWS Solutions Architect. That's the first one you might do. I would recommend it anytime. In fact, you don't even need to take any other one. The AWS Solutions Architect exams you have to take. And as we start, before we get to probably the 5th module, I will send you a link where you can buy those courses. Twice a week, the courses are subsidized. The courses are subsidized. You can get them for as low as maybe even $10. $10, the course is available. You can get them for as low as $10, thereabouts. So, AWS Solution Architects, then there are Python courses that are also available. No, but those don't offer you certification. Kubernetes administrator, there's an international certification, but not so necessary. AWS is the only certification, I think, if you want to actually go that far, and if you are bothered about making sure you have a certification, the AWS Solutions Architect certificate is the only certification I would recommend. I know 1,000,001 guys out there that are working today full-time, making crazy money, and they don't have a single certification, like Aki told you guys from the beginning. But if certification is an issue and you're concerned about having a credential to work with as a DevOps, AWS Solutions Architect exam is what I would recommend.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Finally, probably just while you're still here, let's just take this last one. For those of us without IT background, will you be teaching us Linux and all the fundamentals?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to learn Linux as if we're learning Windows. I hope you understand that. We're going to be learning Linux comparative to Windows, how Windows works, how Linux works. You know, Linux is a command line interface. You are not working with your regular mouse, click, click, create folder. No, it's Linux, you're going to be using commands, but we're going to be comparing everything. That's how, even for the guys there now, it became so, in fact, everything about Linux just became simple for them. And that's how it works. You understand? I believe that answers the question. The Linux section is going to be very interactive. We're going to learn it as if we're learning Windows. So be rest assured. Or rest assured anyway.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Just to reiterate, we'll be starting on the journey will be starting on the 17th of this month. You can take advantage of the 40% discount up until the 10th. Half payment is required to start, while the other half can be paid within 6 to 8 weeks. And as I said earlier on, I hope one way or the other, we've been able to gain something out of this session, or this session has been able to open your eyes to, you know, the possibilities that you don't see coming before. And I tell you, if I can do it with no technical background, coming from an accounting background, if I can transition into software automation engineer, which is different from DevOps, you know, but it involves coding as well. You know, anybody with a great determination can as well do it, you know. You just have to be committed to the process. Nothing comes easy, don't get it wrong. But you have the support system, there. You know, you have people to walk the walk with you, you know, you are not alone. Quickly, lastly, 119660, that's a special name. Can you unmute and quickly ask your question, please? $660, do you want to quickly ask your question? You are, if you are talking,
doesn't even know that their Zoom ID is in numbers.
all right, Or if you are talking, we can't hear you. You just unmuted. You just muted yourself back. All right, that's fine. So yeah, thanks everyone. The number on your screen, if you have any questions, if you want to enroll or anything at all, any inquiries, you can WhatsApp the number on your screen, or if you want to talk to me directly, you can call the second number on your screen as well. Hopefully we can see you on the journey. Hopefully we can walk the walk together for the next, 4 to 5 months, and and hopefully we can start seeing testimonies as well. Thanks everyone for your time. I hope it's been a great session. Do enjoy your evening and see you on the journey. Thanks everyone. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Personally, look forward to seeing everybody. It was nice being with you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, Michael. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night, everyone.